Hey there. So I've just been thinking about the collective last couple of months and also just my whole life and how I've always equated chronic pain, chronic weakness, chronic depression, chronic anxiety, you name it, with just my hormones, which, they totally go hand in hand, sure. Um, but I think the big connecting force is the nervous system. And I'm not sure if I have what it might be called a nervous system disorder with regulating emotion and anxiety and all that stuff. But you put that together with being a mom of two kids on the spectrum, and kids with special needs just take more work. And parenting is just hard because we live in a world where you're expecting the parents, especially the mom, to do a lot of the heavy work, especially the emotional, mental work, um, and the planning and stuff. And I just feel like in the last, I don't know, 5 months, maybe four or 5 months, symptoms I've always had where like I'll get really tired, I'll get really fatigued, I have to put my legs up, I have to sit down for a long time, I have to lay down and stuff. I kind of was like a pendulum where I would shift to really being active and not being able to sit still and having to clean and organize. I mean, I'm not like a big cook and I'm not like a really deep cleaner, but I love to tidy a lot and organize. And I could spend a good hour or two, or I used to be able to spend a good hour or two tidying up stuff because I felt like tidying stuff up made me feel like I could think better and function better in my world. But the more things you stack upon that, like marriage, having kids who have special needs, who need more help, discovering you might have special needs and you might need more help. And and getting older and not knowing if you're in perimenopause, but you probably are because things are just getting harder. Things like going to the bathroom or getting out of bed in the morning or mental function. Things that like always have been a problem, like me being forgetful, just are worse. And it's not like having kids has been the one thing that broke the camel's back, but it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm at a point where I'm saying things and forgetting how to piece together sentences. I am wanting to lay in bed more often. I just thought at first that it was all about anxiety and depression and took my Prozac pill and kept thinking, oh, my hormones are out of whack. I don't know what kind of, should I do an estrogen patch? Should I do this? But, no, there's so many doctors out there that don't either scan a person's brain to see how it's working or really do any work with nervous system stuff. Processing. It's about the processing, And I had my son's triennial yesterday. With kids who have IEPs, who are special needs, they have the annual IEP, and then every third year it's a triennial. It's really long. In fact, we have a second part coming up in a week or two. 2 hours, psychologist was talking and saying that my son may have a sensory processing disorder that might have to deal with motor skills. He doesn't like to write and stuff. And I work at a school, I see other kids, and, some kids' handwriting is totally on par. They work really hard. They can do good printing, good handwriting, cursive, whatever. And then you see the kids that were sort of like me, whose handwriting is not great and, a lot of work. And there's some sort of motor processing thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if I have this issue too. So I feel like ever since I've started TikTok, and even before that, like I think it was around December or so when I was like, do I have ADHD? Now I'm like, am I autistic? I feel like I probably am. When I was a kid in the late 80s, or sixth, seventh, eighth grade, if we had a problem in math or English class, they just took us to another school or another classroom to try to do the work to like get the tutoring and the help. No one ever picked up on ADHD or anything like that back then, although I'm pretty sure it existed. I just think it wasn't at the forefront because the spectrum is so much bigger now. And it's interesting because my father, was always like, oh, I mean, I hate to say it, but he was always like, oh, poor, blah, 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 my son. I hope they find a cure. And it's really like the fact that so many people don't understand that it's just the way your brain's wired. It's not really about curing anything. It's not a disease. It's just our brains work differently. And I've always felt like I was a little different. I just think that there were things that didn't present it as obviously as with some children these days. But I was always sensitive, always a sensitive kid. So I always thought, how highly sensitive kid, highly sensitive person. I always figured, nervous system, hard to regulate emotions, and got to work on that. But putting it together with issues with executive functioning and processing things and learning about rejection sensitivity disorder, because I always feel like I'm rejected. Like I'm always like, why am I not invited to that thing? Why am I not there? And I see my daughter doing the same thing, and I thought it was just because of the way I grew up. And it's like, nope, that's just the way you are. It's crazy. So it's been a long road, and I just feel like with probably hitting perimenopause, and who knows when menopause is going to hit. My mom passed at 52, and I'm pretty sure she was going through early stages from her late 40s to early 50s. It's hard to have no control, and like you go to doctors and they really don't have answers and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, so I know some stuff's up, and I'm going and lying in bed more often, and I'm getting colds and sicknesses more often. And yeah, I work at a school and stuff, but I saw a video once, person talking about two different people who get similar injuries, but because one person's nervous system is harder to like regulate, and they're always stressed, and they're more receptive to those things, whereas the other person heals better. And I know this on some level because I see the way my husband is, and he's just like Mr. Calm, Cool, Collected, and he hardly gets sick, he hardly has injuries, and I'm just like all over the place, and I get more of that. And on the flip side, some of the positives are like I tend to be more emotional in positive ways. I hug more, I express my love more, I'm more emotionally expressive, I think I'm a bit more creative with ideas and things to do and stuff. So it's like a double-edged sword, really. Some of it's our superpower and some of it's our kryptonite at the same time. And the only things I ever really wish for lately is just like I want to be strong. I've never been a person who's really strong, like I always feel fatigue. I've never been great with doing weights. I always get tired a lot faster. Some people can just go to the gym and do all their stuff. Like sometimes I like to do dance classes and stuff when I feel good, and Pilates and yoga, different things. But it's been, I think the last time I was in good health was right after having my son, for a good 4 years or so. And then I got pregnant with my daughter at like 42, and things have been just different since then. So that's just it, I have to just like put together the picture of where I'm at and what my body's at and where my functioning is at versus where I wish I was at, which is the hard part. Sometimes I wish I could just be like one of those alter ego superheroes where like by day I'm this and by night I can do all the things I wish I could do. Yeah. So it's been tough. We've had a cold going around in our family, and it just feels like I'm sick every month.